day where the sun is beating down right on the front of the office.
It's just a little bit too warm, so as I kicked my door open, a little air in here.
That's my audio sound.
Yep. Now we're live. You know what I got to do while we're introing is hit that tweet. I got to tweet that out. I know people tagged us, and I should really think of these things before I press the live button. That's all right, though.
Hey, that happens.
We are live. We'll let some people join us here while I send a tweet. What are we doing here today? This is, what episode number are we?
48. Yes, sir.
Right.
Episode
all right.
48. Exciting times.
Live now. Whoops. I have my caps lock on. There we go. There we go. It has been tweeted. So now we can properly introduce ourselves as How They Get Hacked. Tom Lawrence here. And
Xavier D. Johnson.
All right. We have some stories to talk about, some energy to share. We're still working on reshaping the show. And actually, Xavier, I didn't mention this to you, but someone reached out to me, asking when we can have the Patreon set up and things like that. So we're still working on some of those things. They're still in process. For now. Yeah, we'll figure out ways to throw money at us. We'll work on that and get some links posted on the channel and whatnot. So you can just if you just want to fling money at us to do the show, we're cool.
Do it. Yeah, of course. And I think that another format that we're going with beyond just video will be audio. So getting this transcribed over into podcast form and updating the website and making it so that the feed would just be kind of making some automations, making it a little bit easier for us. So that we are what we can focus on what we do best, which is research, subject matter expertise, and creating the content at the end of the day.
Yeah. And if someone has a good suggestion, feel free to reach out via my forums, reach out to me and Twitter, however you want. I don't know. Someone said there's a few good tools out there. I need to know a good tool, if you happen to know, that takes a YouTube video and just turns it into a podcast. There's some automation tool that did that in a nice way. With some subscription or things like that. We're currently, with my Sunday Morning Linux Review podcast, we use Blurberry, but we'd use it all in a manual method. I don't think I've seen anything that says, take that YouTube video and just title it over here as a podcast. If there is something, I'm sure someone's built some automation tool that would be great.
Right? We'll make the playlist, right? Or just point them at the channel and say, grab all of this. But nevertheless, I think that there's opportunity there.
Yeah, because a lot of this can be, we're reading from the screen, so I think that's a lot of people ask about making an audio podcast, and I think it's a great idea. So I
think I have an echo, because that's typical.
Well, I can fix the echo. I know where that button is.
Echo button. You guys call me the god of hacking. I have to have the echo effect. No, that is Tom. He has the echo button.
I was the echo button. Yep, so that should fix the echo. I just fixed that, hopefully.
Woo-hoo.
So that should be turned down. Couple things that me and Xavier were talking about just before this started was I did some videos on DNS filtering that got the attention of the people that I reviewed. Some good, some bad. The people from DNS Filter and Quad 9 so far have been really cool, because they directly reached out to me and they commented in my forums. They actually started replying to people's questions, which is actually great. They got customer engagement. So, and I learned more about Quad 9. I didn't know Quad 9 was a nonprofit. I knew they were a separate entity, but apparently they're a donation-driven nonprofit type thing. So I actually want to...
I wonder why.
They did this to be completely independent. And they actually have a hard time shaking conspiracy theories. And that was a part of their discussion, because someone claimed, and matter of fact, if you dig into it, there's several conspiracies that they're it's the government setting up a DNS to listen to your DNS. And they're like, no, it's much the opposite. We set up this organization because we wanted a better way. It did come out of a UK, some people that were working in tech in the UK for the government, but they just wanted an independent place that sinkhole DNS. It was a suggestion, not by the same people. It's not a government body by any measure. And I believe IBM had a big piece in funding a lot of it by giving a big donation.
I always find it to be interesting when companies feel the need to spin up something separate. In my mind, as a conspiracy theorist, I go,
Yeah.
Crazy conspiracy time. I go, Does this mean that someone recognizes that the inside is so poisoned that they can't even have this level of evil inside of it? They're like, no, no, no. There's no way that I'm going to allow the oligarchs to be able to control DNS yet from another angle. Good
Yeah.
old Quad 9.
Yeah. What's interesting though is this the fact they do no logging or anything, and that's kind of like there's because a lot of people are complaining, well, you don't have a dashboard, and they're like, yeah, we won't. Like, we
Right.
don't want information. So
Right. Yeah, it's a big deal. Speaking of information, Zoom with these free versus paid meetings. Have you heard about that whole back and forth?
yes, and they apparently decided that on the free version, sorry, you don't get end to end. You know, just in case law enforcement would like to tap in. Like that's a weird add-in to the sentence.
It just really made me feel weird about Zoom. Like, wow.
Yeah, I was
Somebody
like,
else step in and just fix this. Like, I was just feeling kind of okay about Keybase again, and then they said that, and then I was just like, who's running the company where they feel like they could just make decisions on what should be and should not be private? Oh, you want privacy? You have to pay for it. Hold on, wait. How much privacy do I already have on your paid version? Zoom. We've had a problem with that to begin with. Isn't that the reason why you bought Keybase?
and this is where purchasing a security team that's good at implementing an end-to-end encryption product versus decisions being driven by market. And
Policy.
driven by market is because they're publicly traded. They're not just they're not run by the ethics of a CEO, which obviously are themselves. You can at least look at the person and determine where do they lie in terms of their views on something. They're publicly traded, so they're beholden in some ways to their shareholders. And because the shareholder decision could say, hey, my return on investment is better if your marketing says you can pay for privacy. So it becomes more money driven than moral driven, I guess you could probably say. And that's the downside of once you get to be a larger company, or especially a publicly traded company. And one of the reasons some companies avoid taking VC money because of the influence that VCs have. This is just any type. You talk to people, startups. That's something that the war is this. I want the money for the funding to expand my company. I want to maintain control of my company. And
Instagram,
that war gets
Facebook.
Yeah. And that's the war you face when you go to publicly trading. Now you have shareholders that can hold a no confidence vote on you as the CEO of your own company and oust you based on that. So
Get
now
the
you
CEO of what's that? Pepsi, Coca-Cola, one of them. Get him in here now. We need that guy, whatever his name is, John something.
Yeah. He's willing to make decisions that make us more money, and our goal as shareholders is more money, not more privacy. More privacy doesn't really matter. What if I need a lake house.
Right.
Not privacy. I want a lake house, and I want to buy my neighbors so I have privacy. Not sell. Yeah, so it spins right around. Zoom has a terrible history, I see, but yeah, they do. Yeah, they have a terrible history combined with a product that works better than all the other products, which is why we're literally using Zoom to record this.
It's well adopted in corporate, and that's the reason. Like, I hadn't seen it before corporate. I was unaware of Zoom outside of corporate. Same thing for Blue Jeans, right? The one who actually had the most market penetration was Skype. And what made Skype icky for me was Microsoft. And just the entire Skype debacle of people being able to send messages as you, and the botting and the account takeover bugs. It just got really bad really quick. And then it became Link. And then I was like, where does it really end up being? Like, there's not a tool for us. I guess we have FaceTime, right? But like, we don't really have a real tool that is designed as a video conferencing software for the average Joe. It's all aimed at corporations. And I think Zoom with their free plan kind of opened up an angle, because they had already had so much of that market dominance in corporate that when you're like, well, I need to spin up a meeting with Bob down the street, I use Zoom at work.
Well, right? And someone else had commented as well is like the video that me and you did with Chris Bennett on eBay. Someone's like, wow, the quality's really good on that video. I'm like, yeah, that's one of the things that we directly notice. The codecs they're using and some of that, their quality's quite a bit higher than a lot of the other platforms. I've tried. It's not. We actually when I was recording some other stuff, I tried Jitsi. The video quality was so much less; it just couldn't hold up. We even tried using a Jitsi server we stood up. The audio quality is noticeably less on Jitsi, and if you're trying to focus on high quality audio, there's only one other company, and I can't remember because they use it over at Daily Detroit when I was on their interview, that has a lot of focus on the quality of audio, and I might look into that at some point in time. But I already have a Zoom account, and half the time people want to use Zoom, so it kind of becomes cool.
If you know how to set your Zoom account up properly, you don't have a lot of the problems, right? You just have to flip a couple switches.
Oh, by the way, all the stuff we're doing, we're trying to get as public as possible. So bonus if someone in China watches our stuff.
Or NSA agents.
Yeah. So for my context of use, and I've commented for my reviews of Zoom, like think about the context of use. If you're using it to have a discussion, my wife uses it just to talk to her friends, whatever. If you have state secrets, I'm going to say this is probably not the platform for you. Like this is not how you, you should really stop and think, am I sharing national security secrets? Should I start a Zoom call for that? Probably not. I'm going to go with no.
Yeah, I'm going to go with no.
So
I'm trying to think, when I handled that kind of data, what system did we use? It wasn't Teams. Oh, Cisco WebEx. There you go.
Which itself has had a handful of issues. So it's less than perfect as well. If you do want something really secure, think about Signal. That's I wish that Signal, and I don't know that they're ever going to add this feature, had group calling features on there, but they do have one-to-one video calling. And during everything that's going on, a lot of people have stepped up. If you want private communications and you're really privacy oriented, Signal is still a super solid product for that. And they're working to migrate because they've added the PIN numbers. You may have seen, if you're a Signal user, they prompt you for a PIN number. Part of that's because they're working on trying to come up with a way to separate your phone number as the identity, because that is kind of the good and bad of Signal. I liked Keybase for that, so anyone can contact me and start sending me an encrypted private message, but I have to share my phone number. And and here's my next challenge. Like, okay, cool. Maybe I could use my office number and tie it to Signal. But Signal is not multi-tenant, so I have to log in and out of it to do it. So if I want it on my desktop here, where do I save it again and set it up and validate it? Like, do I have to keep another computer running so my office can communicate? You can't just switch users in Signal.
Right.
So it ties to an individual account, and then you can log out and reset. It's no easy switching. So there's some challenges really with Signal. In terms of just being a general, it's great for my friends. Like for people that know me, I message them all the time. So
yeah, Signal's not bad. I'm still wrapping my mind around offboarding, right? Because what if I change phone numbers? And it's just like one of those things in my mind. I'm like, when you tie something to a phone number, I don't own my DID. It's awesome if you just own it. But like technically Verizon owns my number and they got it from Sprint. So I never had anything to do with it.
You know, you don't own it, but you do because of the Portability Act. At least in the US, I've ported my phone number through 4 different carriers now.
I'm on the second one. I'm on the second one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm on Google Fi right now. So my number has carried with me over 20 years. So, I mean, I don't own it, but it's kind of feels like part of my identity because
right.
I mean, it doesn't have the same status of ownership like a domain does, but then
we
again,
need that though. That's where we should be moving towards.
That'd be interesting. How do we have our own? That's and those folks at Keybase.
We can buy DIDs, can't we?
Yeah, I mean, I buy them.
Buy phone numbers.
Yeah, I buy them through VoIP MS. I mean, there's some legal level of ownership I seem to have of them. So
it has to. I want to be able to get my number from my carrier, so that just in case, I might want to use it for other things. I might want to make it my fax number. I might want to make it my house phone. Well, yeah, I think that you could do that, but I want to be able to have it just in case for me.
It's an interesting way to think about it, but yeah. Someone asked, are we deleting Signal or what, or deleting Keybase or what? They actually said, and I'm like,
not delete. It's not deleted. I'll tell you that. The reason why it's not deleted is because it has very, very strong authentication and authorization, which means if I delete it, I'm taking an extreme measure. I am potentially deleting data that is only on that device because this might have been my first client. I don't know which one was my first client. I don't know what data's on what client, but I know that you don't go and get old data from Keybase. It's whatever is on the device when you log in. So if I destroyed the key that goes to this computer and uninstalled the client, which would destroy all of the data that was hosted locally for this, if I went back to reinstall it, all of that data would be gone. It'd just be like starting fresh with the new key, never being able to see any of those messages again. That's just how their authorization authentication works. And that's one of the things I really like about it, right? Because you know that your data is contained to you. That's truly end to end. But that makes it really hard to make a decision about offboarding because I have so much history there. I'm just not using it as much,
Right.
and actively avoiding it. But I do have some people that are out of the country that don't use Signal, and that's the only way they hit me up. And when I get on there, yeah, I respond.
I have a handful of ongoing conversations with people who work on several Linux projects that they love Keybase and are in Europe. It's kind of the same thing. Yep. I've never even thought about. I don't know. Can you text people who are in Europe with European phone numbers? Does it work the same? I honestly don't know.
Not sure. I know iMessage works.
Yeah, I've literally never texted someone with some of the different phone numbers in Europe. I imagine it works, but that's an interesting question.
SMS. I'd imagine it's really cheap because international minutes they're fairly cheap. So international SMS, if anything, would be less than 10 cents for sure. If they wanted to charge for it, which I can't see them. A short message, I guess you want to make money on it, but that's kind of shitty.
Yeah. I see a few people talking about Mumble. We actually use that here. I should do a video on that. I don't know if Mumble's actually more for games, but yeah, but it's a really fun tool to use when your office workers are remote because you just want to have a conversation. And we self-host it. So one, it's encrypted. Two, because we self-host it, we can guarantee we're not logging anything. And that way when we scream a bunch of profanities in it, there's
no log of that.
Yeah, because I really like real-time chat applications, Slack and the like, for business communication when you need it documented. But there are things you may not want as documented, and using Mumble's been kind of a quick way to do it, and it's quick voice commands. So
nice.
Yeah, Sam Sheridan says he hosts Mumble as well. So yeah, it's a good tool. But Signal, also bringing them up, they got blurry faces now.
Oh yeah, they got blur tools. Signal is basically trying to help people stay safe, so to speak. Stay safe, beloved. We're during this time right now where there's a lot of protests and oh man, it's just a crazy time.
Yes.
But there's a lot of pictures and media that is like more than ever in the last 10 years, especially of civil unrest. And we've seen in the last 10 years what happens when that data gets in the hands of, the opposition, people who are going against these otherwise peaceful protests, potentially turning into riots, but protests nevertheless. And so they're using this along with facial recognition, things like the green light program, to be able to, and potentially things like your cell phone's location, to be able to triangulate you at time and place, potentially charge you with, failure to desist or rioting. And they're using these pictures to do that, and the metadata that comes off of these pictures. So Signal, being the kind of company that they are, came up with something called blur tools, which I think is pretty cool. With the most recent murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, we got literally global marches. So, for 2020 in general, seems like the message here is face coverings, because either you don't want to get coughed on or cough, and you don't want to get caught up in any weird, cases, because you were just
and directly
there.
related to this. This is the those videos you've seen in every movie and things like that. I dropped a link just below the Signal one, Xavier. The ACLU is suing Clearview AI, and if you're not familiar with Clearview AI, it is the largest database of faces, and they advertise that they can actually this is Clearview. This is their whole thing. They sell to law enforcement or anyone who has the budget to buy and pay for them. You upload anyone's face, and it finds everywhere that person's face ever was. Now, they're saying Clearview's argument and stance on this is the fact that, well, people have their faces and pictures uploaded everywhere, and these pictures were taken in public places. But the ACLU is taking a different position on it and saying someone's face in a public place is fine, except you can't apply analytics to that because now you're collecting biometric data, even though you only collected it through the lens of a camera type thing. But this is kind of goes hand in hand with the signal. So you want to be able to blur photos because if there's some way that those photos get out there, these Clearview tools are being actively used by law enforcement agencies
and stalkers.
And stalkers. Yeah, anyone who's got the budget for it. So the Clearview AI thing is actually kind of scary. The fact that anyone can just buy it. So
and be like, oh, okay, now I know where this person frequents now because as of just yesterday, they were seen at this grocery store. Like, whoa, that's pretty bad. And the only reason why they know I was at the grocery store is because a Clearview like system is a backbone for something like a green light, and I cannot hide away from the green light. And then all of a sudden, this person is able to see not only my face associated with any particular location, but if I'm at a gas station, they're going to be able to see my license plate and the vehicle that I drive, right? So then it becomes like next level creepy when, the government is trying to be preventive. So they go deeper and deeper into, into your history or into your life. And they use these surveillance tools to be able to gather that data so that they can go deeply into you. But then you got other companies that are private companies that are aiding in this and actually creating tools to be sold to these agencies. But while they're at it, they're selling it to everybody else who has a budget. So private investigators, ex-husbands, people potentially in abusive relationships. It just gets a little
creepy.
No one wants to be tracked around, man. That's just really sketch.
Yeah. And then you also throw in the fact that there's an error rate to this. And that error rate, if it creates a false positive, and this becomes letter of the law, so to speak, well, we found this person, picked him up based on a mistake made by a private company that will not release the code. This actually goes against one of the constitutional rights you have in America is the right to face your accuser. That's actually been a fight ongoing for people say, I have the right to face my accuser, and my accuser was some electronic device that identified me or some electronic device that made a decision about me. And that has been a really interesting, eventually it's going to end up a Supreme Court case because people have wanted the source code to things like breathalyzers and any tools that are used for DNA, for evidence. And this is only scaling upwards when you talk about a system, because think about it. You have a system that says, you're the one. All right, prove I'm the one. How do I defend against that if there's a flaw in the system?
Right.
So,
oh man, that is definitely going to be an interesting time in history.
Interesting time. There's a lot to it. That's why I said people see it sometimes as it seems like this small little tool seems innocent enough that it would help. But then you look at the bigger picture. And one of the challenges is these tools frequently are abused. And
they're wrong.
And they're wrong. And
they're wrong.
That only makes your life that much harder.
Right?
But probably not as hard as your life if you're, I don't know, outing a Romanian skimmer game in Mexico.
Yeah, Krebs is having a really, really interesting time. For one, let's be clear here. I do not condone being a Romanian skimmer game. Before we start this, I want to make sure you know that Krebs didn't do anything to deserve this other than say too much and know too much. Some things you know and you just don't talk about. And I think that out of everybody, Krebs should know this. But apparently, Krebs put his foot in his mouth and he's outed a gang this time. Cyber gang, the Riviera Maya gang. This is scary stuff. This is what literally petrifies me about doing things like honeypotting and any of that investigative side of the business, because The types of people that are doing ransomware are not nice people. The types of people that are doing skimming and credit card fraud and like actually are going out to deploy skimmers and doing money muling and that type of stuff are not nice people. Because what's stopping 19-year-old kid who's been a bully from hooking up with this one person who gives them a bunch of data to go and do money mule stuff and then running off? You got to be an enforcer in that business because you got to handle, you got to tie up loose ends, all types of weird shit. So Krebs is, apparently potentially is a loose end for for this Romanian skimmer gang, only because he outed them.
And
So
this is like a real challenge because even like something as Xavier said, something you're someone just skilled in technology, you set up a honeypot, start making some discoveries, and it's not like you knew the other end of that that weird script you've seen. That first time you found something that hit your honeypot, the other end of it was a Romanian gang. Like you think it's some. They always like to portray, oh, the hackers were some kid in their basement. But when you talk about the level of operation and they're real crime rings, these are not average.
We're talking about $20 million a month. We're talking 1,000 credit cards per month per skimmer, right? Yeah. And we're talking about something as small as $200 from an account. So we're mass scale money muling. It's super crazy.
And the fact that it took some physical layers to this, Bluetooth enabled pen pads. I mean, there's some advanced sophistication in this.
And it looks like, and I thought we heard about this. It's not the first time we heard about this, actually. We might have, we might have actually covered this before because I remember the shark particularly.
Yeah.
And this guy right now, he's still, of course, they're all still locked up, but particularly I remember him saying that he wanted to hurt Krebs in some way. Or what was it? No, it wasn't that he said that he wanted to. It was that they were trolling Krebs, right? They were like sending stuff to his house and they sent a bunch of funeral flowers to his house, like memorializing him as if he was already dead.
Yep.
And it, yeah, it's pretty interesting because the dude, basically the shark, is they own this company called Intacash, and that was how they were getting access to all of the the tools for ATM skimming and actually like running a shell company, so to speak. Nevertheless, they were definitely going to do their business.
And this updated article is a recent one from Krebs, just kind of following up. Is basically, yes, they pretty much said, and they have transcriptions of, they were going to kill him. Well, they decided not to. I mean, so they only spoke of it, but kind of decided maybe that wasn't. Yeah, they came close.
That's not the best option.
Yeah, so they knew their investigation. Speaking of investigation, though, the Bleeping Computer. It's actually the first one we have. A well-known sites that port scan website. So we talked about this, and it's started with the eBay scanning, and
now it's gone far.
So one of my things I noticed that I think we missed in our video, I think it was Jack Resider was one of the first people to talk about this from Darknet Diaries. And
really?
Yeah, and then the investigation got deeper by Abrams and his article, which was what we were working off of with Bleeping Computer. And then Abrams updates Bleeping Computer again to go deeper further. And I believe at the bottom of this, there's an entire list of all the sites that are doing this.
Right, because we end up finding out that it was something called Threat Matrix, which is owned by LexisNexis. And if you don't know who LexisNexis is, I know Fendrix. Me and Fendrix actually had a personal one-on-one where I called him up on the history because, oh my God, this led me off into a completely different time in history where there used to be a hacker by the name of Adrian who actually hacked New York Times.
Adrian Lama, was it?
Yep, Adrian Lama.
Yep. Homeless hacker.
Homeless hacker. Dude, growing up, he was like a hero to me, for one, which I know is pretty weird, but like I liked him. I liked his personality.
Oh yeah. When he hacked in the AOL stuff, and then I remember him publishing, he told them when he was going to do it, and then did it on the day he told him he was going to do it.
Well, he was trying to help people. He was letting,
Yeah.
he was bug bountying and doing that kind of stuff before it was normal. And it was just out of pure curiosity, like, I wonder if, right? And it got him in trouble one particular time with New York Times because he went and racked up this huge bill in their LexisNexis database because he just kept wondering and went and did all these searches, right? And look, here we are, literally fucking 20 years later. LexisNexis still has a hold of us and is still collecting data at a different rate than ever, using some of your biggest and most widely trafficked website to generate this data that eventually some Adrian will go in and hack and and search through. But nevertheless, we talked about how WebSockets was being utilized to scan these ports. All these ports ended up coming back to remote control, remote connectivity type of ports. We were thinking it was just to make sure that, these people weren't hacked or that these weren't bots, and that we assumed immediately that this was some kind of anti-fraud type of thing. And that's basically what it ended up being. We still don't really know what the port 63333 is about. I'll be honest with you, I'm still not 100% sure. There's only like 3 or 4 hosts in the world running that, as we went to go see. So super interesting that they're looking for that. I don't know, maybe they've seen something weird through that.
There's something that's, because there's very little. There's like a triplet UPS. I seen someone comment in our video about it. I'm like, I seen that too, but I don't think they're looking for triplet UPS. There's something more that runs on that I haven't seen, and that is not based on any searching. And even the commenters, no one's linked to me, even the Bleeping Computer, no one's linked exactly what that is, like conclusively, like some type of botnet or anything like that.
No idea. So Bleeping Computer did the hard work for us, reached out to Domain Tools, and basically they do all of the cool surveillance and threat and threat stuff around DNS. And there's sites that are utilizing this, but what they're doing is they're using a CNAME to be able to actually forward this this online, or mask this online-metrics.net domain. So once we found that, reverse engineering that back through using Domain Tools, you can actually see 380 unique online-metrics.net host names. And when you look at them, they're all the kind of places you would presume don't want to have fraud happening. Citibank, TD Bank, Ameriprise. Now, Chick-fil-A, I can't understand. Unless they're doing lending, like those chicken sandwiches must be getting, or maybe they got like, they're very religious and they take very public stances. Maybe they're just like, we need everything. We need all the security you can get. Is there any way?
And it's on there. I believe they said, like with Chick-fil-A and a few of these other ones as well, it's only when you try to validate your login for some of the online features. That's when they actually check you. So my guess is they just did it to beef up security on their online system. They're like, what's the best system out there?
It's probably a part of their identity and access management. Like there are portions of applications that I've written that use other APIs to actually check company names and information against well-known terrorist organizations, right? To make sure that it's like E-Verify or something like that. You want to make sure that you don't do business or sell what we were selling, what was considered a munition because of the encryption. You can never sell a munition to a hostile country. It's an ITAR violation or something like that. So, there's a whole lot of different APIs and SDKs that get used and just sprinkled in here and there. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're used on every page. So that definitely makes sense. But it's interesting. I wonder, and here's a bunch of screenshots around that. I wonder what kind of data they're saving. Other well-known companies, Lloyd Bank, ESPN, possibly even Microsoft. Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. Netflix though,
so there's
too.
A Google sheet here of all of them.
Yep.
And I thought that was pretty clever. Poking at that, but
Yeah,
Those
I
tweets
thought
might
this
be
was
it.
interesting. I like the fact that they have a whole Google sheet of it.
Super interesting. So basically, you can use uBlock Origin, which I've switched over to just because it's the only thing I found that can actually block this. And so yeah.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah,
it
and
looks
it's
like you can't block
uBlock
it in
Origin on
Chrome or
Firefox.
Edge. Yeah, that's wild. I don't use Brave. Have you played with Brave at all?
I have not. So, and I thought it was that made it interesting because we also tested Brave browser and the port scans were allowed through also. So Brave does not protect against WebSockets. A few people have asked me to test Brave, but back to the Google Chrome and Edge, there was a decision. So they played this off as a decision that Google was doing it so they could stop people from blocking ads. What Google did was they deny permissions for the plugins to parse DNS. And people, like I said, were playing it off as if like, oh no, they need to do this because they're doing it to stop people from blocking their ads. And like, well, they also don't want the plugins to have too many permissions. So it's a balance off back and forth of the plugin gets too many permissions. I'm not fine-grained enough to tell you exactly why they did it. I know they had a write-up on there, and some people thought the underlying reason was for ads, but the underlying reason seems to be more for security. I don't know what security threat, but if you think about it, if the plugin can manipulate DNS, then a hijacked plugin can manipulate DNS.
Yeah.
And if we validate DNS, now you can redirect me where you want me to go with a plugin. And so that could be why they don't allow certain overrides or certain feeds in there. It's boy, you either trust your plugin or you trust your browser or you trust the website.
You never trust the website.
Yeah.
You always trust the browser, and plugins they should be able to be in a trusted state. You should be able to sandbox and or trust plugins. I should be able to have all of the rest of my plugins sandbox except for LastPass and maybe uBlock, because those are the ones that matter the most to me. And I find to have criticality.
I think there's ways you could probably find granular permissions to link that, so you can say you have permission to view DNS on this particular site, so I can protect or stop this particular thing. So, but this is all
that's where security comes down to, right? It comes down to granularity, least privilege. The only way to get to least privilege is through granularity. And it takes a lot of time to flip those switches and tune it.
It's a long build up to get there, but we're slowly getting there. But hey, what are you gonna do? Talk about ransomware targeting Windows and Linux with a unique attack. Did you see this? This is
no, actually. I haven't heard about this one.
I mean, so
there's ransomware that is attacking Linux PCs?
Yeah. It's because what methodology, what language would we do if we want things to cross-platform themselves?
Golang or Python.
Or Java.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
And because so few places look at Java, I just thought it was an interesting way to obscure it. So it's the Tycoon ransomware. And
Tycoon.
Yeah. I thought it was a cool name.
Right?
Become a tycoon. Use Tycoon ransomware. It seems like a slogan or something.
Man, name Tycoon after references in the code, which is, by the way, as a person who may or may not have decoded a lot of or reverse engineered a lot of malware, that's how malware researchers, the first researcher that gets it, they run strings on it. Let's be honest. And anything that comes up more than 3 or 4 times, that's the name of the ransomware now. So, just letting you know, that's always how these RWs are, or virus and malware in general. That's how they're always named. But yeah, it looks like this has only really been around for the last 6 months, based out of Java. And, Java is slow AF sometimes and requires a JRE, which I thought people stopped installing the same way that they stopped installing things like Flash. Like, I thought that was like the other thing to get rid of.
Yes, no. And I thought about that too. And I looked at, we have a lot of clients that have it because so many stupid utilities they have need it. So we've got it away from the end users and the consumers. But then again, that's not who pays. You know what I mean? Who's going to pay their ransom? It's not some general user of a computer. It's a business what they're after. And tons of businesses require it because so many enterprise applications, if we remove it, it breaks them. it's because just too much crap is written in it. So
And so like with this tycoon ransomware, it kind of goes back to, of course, the things that we always talk about with ransomware. You got to quit putting shit on the internet. So attacker connects the system using RDP server on the network. That's your 0 day.
Oh yeah.
That's your 0 day. So if you want to stop this type of stuff, install zero tier on a networked computer that is in behind the firewall, behind on the LAN that doesn't have any ports exposed at all. Like, there's no reason to publish RDP onto the net. And I don't know how much what's your bet on, like, what's your number? How much RDP do you think is exposed?
Oh man, the number's
today,
staggering.
Right now, just random number.
It's over 1 million. I feel confident. So 3389 is going to be.
You think over 1 million?
Yeah.
I gotta log in. 1 second.
$4 million.
4.5.
Yeah.
And look, if you're rounding up, look at the top two. China.
Boy, we're in competition with each other.
God, administrator.
I love that. That's the login for the first one. Nick, Philip, and administrator.
SA, administrator. If you know anything about Windows Server, SA is server admin.
Yep. And it's also, that means it's running a database, by the way, because pretty much SA is your login for your SQL database.
Oh, yeah. SQL Server admin.
Yep, SQL Server admin. Oh, but it has full admin privilege. Don't worry. It's the right login if you want to grab the system.
God, I got to log into Facebook to be able to log into Showdown because Facebook has the stronger authorization model than Showdown does. Pro tip. If you want to make sure your Showdown account doesn't get taken from you, make sure that your Facebook account doesn't get taken from you. Start there.
Yeah. I mean, trust me, Facebook is a privacy nightmare, but they don't like sharing with others. So...
Oh, and they let you be granular, which is something Twitter has not caught up with.
No.
I can be a FB, like I can't even use the word that I want to use. Like, I want to say Nazi, but you can't even say Nazi basically anymore. But like, I'm like, I locked
demonetized.
Down, right? Yeah. As if we were monetized to begin with. Holy shit.
Yeah, we swore enough.
I don't think it's the swearing. So I watch other YouTubers. And they are
making the content
on YouTube, and they say some really interesting stuff.
Yes.
And I'm like, nobody bothers them. Okay. And I fight every strike. I think right now every video is monetized because I'm like, watch it again. You tell me, and I'll roll the dice as many times as it takes. Anyway, that's a whole nother game. Quit putting RDP on the internet. And basically, long story short, local administrators, we just saw how prevalent it is and how easy it is to find targets that have RDP out on the internet with local administrator. When you basically get local admin, disable the AV, drop a package, leave the backdoor, stay quiet for 7 days, right? And that most host logs are only going to last for about that amount of time. If a person doesn't have retention set up, most firewalls by default, like Sonic walls, only have about 7 to 14 days of retention built into them, depending on how hard you slam it, right? Because you can just fill the logs up and make it to only have the last hour, especially if someone's not paying attention, right? You can fill the logs up, and basically day 7, the attacker's just casually logging into this computer, just very easily, and then basically they're just enumerating that. And I can't imagine how in the world we're still at this point where ransomware, malware makers are making it's just so easy. Like, we're not making it hard enough for them.
No, there's so much low-hanging fruit. I mean, most of the stuff they do is not as clever. It's not deep, technically challenging hacks. They're like, yeah, we guessed some passwords to some credential stuffing and jumped right in.
The Tycoon ransomware comes in the form of a zip archive containing a Trojanized JRE. So you don't have to have the JRE on your machine. They're going to come and put it on there for you. By the way, it's our JRE, the worst kind of JRE that you possibly can have. And that's super interesting. The malware is compiled into a Java image file, a JImage.
Not going to be fast. This is going to be
But
some slow stuff going on here.
It's well hidden, it looks, and
I think that's part of it
fairly
too, is to obscure it,
sophisticated.
because other people aren't running stuff in Java. So, like, it's not the first language you think of when you want to write any of this tool. So that's probably another level of obscurity, is the systems aren't prepared for it, the systems aren't looking for it, so it doesn't raise any red flags.
Fun times.
Always fun.
Yeah, if possible, like, most developers can't really get rid of Java in their environments. It's just by the nature of the tools that we use, they use Java.
Certainly is.
AES 256 with a 16-byte long GCM authentication tag. Wow, which ensures data integrity. A 12-byte long initialization vector, IV, which is a part of how they encrypt. That's interesting.
Red Rum.
Right? Like, if you just saw Red Rum 3.0 50 million times, you're going to name the malware Red Rum. I think malware devs do it on purpose. Like, what do I want this one to be named?
They find the best ones.
Anywho.
Scrolling on down the list here.
What else we got?
Ransomware tings are ganging up.
Yeah, so this is a real life threat, and it's getting a little hairy. These ransomware gangs are being very collaborative these days, almost like open source, right? Like, you'd imagine these people run Linux or maybe some Pin2 or some Gen2 or something, and they're like, drinking their little coffee with their hacker music on, because they're definitely acting as if they're one of us. Because if I have data that is important, I'm going to spread it as many places as possible. And it seems like ransomware gangs are starting to kind of follow that path. Unfortunately, they're doing it in a malicious way, and they're not being extremely just cool and hackery with their little hacker music. They're being kind of evil here. So, and November 2019 was the first time we heard about these Maze ransomware operators just dumping data out into the world. And it really came down to people not wanting to pay for, not wanting to pay them, not wanting to pay for the keys, restoring from backup, and then they get their data dumped. And this really changed the dynamic in the space entirely around ransomware. So it seems that now a couple of gangs have gotten together and created what they've considered a cartel. And so it looks like, there's a number of ransomware services that are collaborating to be able to actually drop data. I'm not really sure how the money works. Apparently, when asked, they can't really share the details. But usually this data is for sale. So if I come together with other ransomware gangs and I'm dropping data, I want to make sure that I get some money too. So, it looks like at least Maze and Lockbit are working together to actually leak data, and they've created an entire platform around leaking data. So,
and the other side of this, and this is something I was preaching back in my DNS videos, is we need better collaboration between all of us as security vendors, as security providers, because as these companies start working together, and we already, we've talked before, ransomware as a service, the way they're making tool sets easier, so the more amateur hackers, people who want to, may not have the skills to write the ransomware, can buy into it as a service. And the more that becomes a giant ecosystem and a cartel, as they title at the top there, that just means that much more trouble we're going to have defending against it, because they just keep getting better.
Yeah, RAS it's going to be just like anything else that goes as a service. It's going to make innovation a lot easier. It's going to push innovation upstream, and it's going to set standards. Anything that's platform as a service driven or as a service driven always sets standards. So it's interesting to see, maybe they'll actually be better at service than some MSPs. because we already see Pseudonuclebi being the friendly hackers, right?
Yeah. They literally have a customer service line that answers. And it's funny because they're enabling, Sam just posted, he said script kiddies. We used to make fun of the script kiddies. Now the script kiddies are easily enabled. They start looking for it. They can hook up with this. They don't have to have, they just have to have the intent to do bad, not the skill, so to speak. And they kind of connect these things together, making it easier.
And the thing now is like script kiddies aren't script kiddies, they're script soldiers. Right? They're actually being told to do this and given a tool from a guy who's smart enough that already ran the tool before or may have written the tool. They're just like, here, click this button. Or potentially what we're considering script kiddies are people taking these scripts and putting them in something like Jenkins and just running jobs and feeding lists or putting lists in databases and running jobs via Lambdas or other, serverless based, people that are smart don't want to work hard. They just want money to rain out of the sky. So, when you can go to Shodan and get 4.5 million people to try and log into, I'm sure a couple of those admins are admin. That's just the way that it works. If you got administrator and admin, one of those are admin. You're going to, or one of them don't have a password, or I'm going to get some low hanging fruit, even if it's 10 hosts out of 4.5 million. And how do I find those 10 hosts? I'm going to automate this. I'm going to set this up so that it runs over the next 5 days, and I'll come back, be able to identify those 5 hosts. And now we're moving into something that's a little bit more advanced. I'm going to pass this to the person who asked me for this data to begin with, right? Which might be the smart person that actually set up the infrastructure and wrote the code. And it's just like, okay, now we can drop our evil JRE, right? that is the stuff that, the people that are script kiddies can't do. Because I think that it's going to be multiple stages. There's going to be, the first stage of someone who's actually going out there and just clicking the button and running it. And then there's going to be the stage of, okay, now that I've gotten a foothold in the network, how do I stay here? How do I get the data out of this environment? How do I classify this victim? Right? These are going to be the new things.
Yeah, and then at the ultimate end, like we started with here, if you don't pay the ransom, we dox you and dump your data out to the internet, so we'll extort it.
And potentially they'll leak it anyway. Even if you do pay the ransom, who's to say that they won't leak it? There's no honor amongst thieves, man.
Yeah, even if you pay, there's no guarantee that.
There's no guarantee.
No guarantees. I think probably advice on the extortion is not to pay it, but boy, I don't know.
It depends on who you are. It depends on if you got backup or not. If you got backup, then maybe you're good for not paying it. But if you don't got backup, then we need to start.
But even when you do have backup and you're facing the extortion side of it, what damage would that data do?
You see, and that's when you got to start to think about how was my data sitting at rest? What kind of hashing and salting was I doing? What data is going to be there for the taking? There's some ways to stay ahead of that. Speaking of staying ahead of that, you could hire an IT service to be able to kind of help you, but you might want to do your due diligence, because these days IT services get breached all the time, even the big players.
Yes.
Apparently, Conduent suffered a ransomware attack.
Oh boy!
And they are a $4.5 billion company by revenue. They're considered an IT services giant. And that's really, really interesting, because they, Conduent provides services including HR and payments infrastructure and HR. That's the kind of data that ransomware gangs just lust after. And we're talking about the majority of Fortune 100 companies and over 500 governments. So they were just hit a week ago. It looks like basically Maze is already, from one post to the next, you kind of see it here. They don't really want to say exactly what the ransomware type was or the intrusion vector, but it is known that Maze has this data, which means it could have been Lockbit that went and got it, because we know that Maze is connecting with other ransomware gangs to leak data.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And Citrix VPN, they didn't patch it for 8 weeks. That Citrix NetScaler nailed a ton of people. I think I don't think we had an episode like from the time it came out until today, I don't think we've had an episode where there wasn't someone who had that open that we didn't talk about it. So,
Yep, and they all got hit with ransomware. It's never like, oh, the data was just stolen. No, people just don't steal data anymore. They copy it
no.
over and then they encrypt it.
Do you know something interesting? A mutual friend of ours, Michael Lucas, he has a love-hate relationship with SSH because the same thing you were seeing with Cisco here, or not Cisco, Citrix. Once you have a large monoculture around any one product, and I mean SSH by far is like the de facto standard. He goes, Tom, if there's a flaw in SSH, we have no diversity in remote management tools. If there's a flaw in SSH, go home. Like, just turn off, go be a farmer. I don't know, turn off the internet. Like, it's broke. Like, if they found a 0-day in it, you couldn't get it patched up enough because it is the backbone of so many things. And just like that, Citrix at scale, this Citrix NetScaler product was massively used by companies. So one flaw in it brought down a sizable number of companies, all with one flaw.
Down goes Frazier. I hate to see it, man, because there's companies that made that decision to buy that, and part of that decision making was, oh, I can't afford to buy any thing over and over again, so I'm going to buy this because I know that it's trusted in the community.
Yeah.
And then they have something like this happen.
Right. And the Citrix, the fault, they had a fault in their product. They have a patch for it, but people waited 8 weeks and longer, or just undoubtedly, there is an untold number of them still exposed at this very moment. We don't need to do another show to answer. It's just, trust me. Last time we looked, no one's patching this.
Ouch. So they're making it easy.
Yep, they're making it easy. Low-hanging fruit again.
Low-hanging fruit. It looks like we're just going to we're going back into our old bag here, guys. So get and gals. So get rid and people, because there's more than guys and gals now. We're digging into our bag here, folks. Ransomware gang. I know. You missed us.
Doppel Paymer.
You missed us. I know. The ransomware gang says it's breached one of NASA's IT contractors. No shit. Always breaching NASA's IT contractors. I want to be a NASA IT contractor. It seems like the only way that I'm going to be able to be one is if I just open all the ports to my firewall to the internet, and then they'll be like, yeah, that guy, we want him. Because their contractors are always getting spanked. Doppel Paymer ransomware games claim to have breached DMI, a major U.S. IT and cybersecurity provider, and a NASA IT contractor. So if it's a cybersecurity provider, potentially they have pivots into networks. Very, very interesting. Doppel Leaks is a .onion. I'm not going to leak exactly which one it is. Pretty sure you can find it if you want to go dig in. Nevertheless, they got all the data, all of it. It's just sitting there waiting for you if you want to go get for it. The Doppel Paymer ransomware gang successfully breached digital management, and they have a lot of interesting customers, as the last managed service provider that we just spoke about. We don't know exactly how deep they got into their network, but we do know that there is some forecasting data, albeit old so far, but there are some information inside of this that could maybe aid other people and potential types of research. So I'd say that, if possible, always try and keep this type of stuff off of the internet, because it's private for a reason, right? And the moment that you have all of your data getting dumped out on the internet is when you're having a really bad day. And if it's related to your company through a third party, you're still having a bad day. Like, NASA's not happy that their files are being leaked out. Right?
No. But I like that at the top, they thank them for sending some people to space. Congratulations on your sending people to space. By the way, here's all your data.
Have you heard about Mousegate?
No.
So apparently there's a mouse that runs on the rocket of the latest the Falcon launch. Hold on, I gotta take a side. Squirrel Mousegate. Here, I'll just go Mousegate hashtag on Twitter. I know, right? Twitter. I know.
Hey, that's
There should, oh, maybe this isn't a good video here. I'll try and find one that there looks like a mouse hitchhiker ride on Elon Musk's SpaceX rocket. Here you go. This is a rocket, and look at that. People are saying that that's insane. A mouse.
That's insane.
People are saying it's a mouse. People are saying it's a mouse. I don't know if it's a mouse or not. The conspiracy theorist in me really hopes that it is, because this proves that mice will rule the world one day.
Yeah, no kidding.
If they can withstand that level of heat and lack of oxygen, then I'd be really, really impressed. I don't know that that's a mouse. I can't say that that's a mouse.
Yeah.
But Mousegate, if you want to go have some fun and talk to the flat earthers, Mousegate, it's amazing. The things that you find during riot times to take your mind away. Anything.
Yep. Well, and kind of related to Elon, they did the test drive of the Cybertruck. 1, 2, 3, 4 pound, man.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
They videotaped the guy. Now, they may have done it for the video. I grabbed the screenshot of it and noted where it was in the video. I mean, because it was too obvious that it's 1, 2, 3, 4 pound. But I mean, if you want to take a ride in a tunnel, the Lyft password is 1, 2, 3, 4 pound.
There you go. But we'll leave it there for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like they're based out of Maryland, and they got some domain controllers. They got some stuff leaked here. So they're definitely compromised. It looks like Doppel Paymer is one of the groups that actually leaks via Doppel leaks. They have their own platform, which is not to be confused with the Maze platform. Maze is actually working with other ransomware gangs outside of Doppel Paymer to actually collaborate and leak data. So now we're at a point where we have more than one provider of leaked data, which I don't know how we got here.
You know what, I should, maybe sometime I'll sit down and draw this out, and it'll look like one of those crazy boards, but I'll draw like a relationship map, a hierarchy, like kind of like how they did with the crime families, to show how the crime families work together. And like the olden days when the police would do their research into the Italian crime gangs, we have similar things where we could just draw all the relationship. Like, here's the Maze, here's the Doppelware, here's where they work together on this particular project.
Yeah, this is how your data moves around from ransomware gang to ransomware gang, being passed along to get footholds.
It's a deep and complicated thing here. It's there's a lot to it. So
eventually, I believe that people will just start to hunt systems administrators that are known for bad configurations. Like,
that's an interesting. You use OSINT. You go, I know this dude's a moron, and everywhere we go, everywhere he goes, he does the same configuration poorly. So we just follow him and his career path on LinkedIn, and that's how we pick targets. Him or her, whoever it is, whoever this particular bad person is, you just follow them on their career trajectory. Every time they announce a new job, you have a new target.
And I'm saying, man, that's there's something to that. Just mark my words.
Yeah.
Oh, man, have you ever ridden a train before?
Not recently, but yes, I have. Not over long distances.
I've never been on like an actual Amex train, and I'm really, really happy, because apparently if I did, I would potentially have gotten passwords leaked.
Whoops.
It looks like Amtrak, which, I never knew it was actually named the Railroad Passenger Corporation. That's a really, really badass name, by the way. Like, I'm thinking about forming a company now, the National Hacker Corporation or something. Like, that's just nice. And then, like, the fact that they just get to do business as whatever else they want to do business as is also really cool. I need to go and read my business books to figure out how to do that. Because, like, I would go by, like, I said it, right? Like, the National Hacker Corporation. Yeah, I said it. Anyway, they looks like back in April, they determined that they did have an authorized access that was gained to their systems, particularly certain guest reward accounts. And so they decided that they wanted to kind of reset all those passwords. They claim that there was some personal information viewed, but not including financial data, credit card info, or social security numbers. So it looks like whoever that third party was blocked from accessing those accounts within a few hours. No real data just yet on this. Amtrak is being pretty tight-lipped about it, which I can't really blame them. They don't want to cause too much of a panic. I'd imagine that a lot of the people that have rewards types of things with Amtrak are older.
Yeah, and their
People want
previous.
to
It's
get there.
interesting that previous attack. So it says, according to a report published by Amtrak's office, the Inspector General, in 2014, an Amtrak employee sold confidential passenger information and identification to U.S. Drug Enforcement. But that's really strange. One, the amount is wild because they were selling it since from 1995 till 2014, and they had collected fees of what, $850,000, almost $1 million, selling data to the DEA. Like,
Yeah, that's really not okay.
That's really weird because Amtrak themselves is not exactly an independent company. They're government subsidized. So it seems like the government has the levels of leverage they would have been able to gain this data anyways, but I don't know.
Joint Drug Enforcement Task Force, APD. I'd imagine that like trafficking is a big deal on trains. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'd imagine that if you're just like, yo, I need to get this meth from Iowa to fucking Illinois, like you slap it on a train and people probably won't think twice about it as much as they would like an airplane. But my data shouldn't be for sale, nevertheless. So
yeah, I don't pay for a ticket for you to go sell my data again. So at least I get Facebook for free and they're selling my data.
Offensive security testing firm, which is another dope ass company name, by the way.
It is
the firm.
And of course, Bishop Fox.
Oh yeah, Bishop Fox found some critical API vulnerabilities affecting their iOS.
Got my Bishop Fox hat and swag from when I mentioned them in one of my videos. They mailed me a couple things.
Nice. Authentication bypass is a really, really bad one, and sensitive information disclosure. So yeah, it looks like you could just pass any user ID and it would just give you a success.
Whoops.
So that's just really bad. You just got to make sure that the authentication token exists. Any token existing will allow you to bypass, which is really, really bad. So yeah.
Whew. I think that's the end of our list.
I think we got one more that I'm pretty interested in. And then we can just sit here and chat for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So hacker leaks database of dark web hosting provider. Now, if you know anything about these dark web hosting providers, they are considering themselves to be bulletproof, and they host things for people that may not have the technical expertise to be able to, or maybe the desire to be able to actually run their dark service, right? Their hidden service. And so it looks like Daniel's Hosting, which is one of the most popular free hosting sites for dark web, was breached back in March, and it looks like about 2 weeks after the breach, they just shut down, telling their customers to go to other new places. We're talking about 7,600 websites. A third of all dark websites went down. So just Daniel's Hosting alone was hosting a third of the darknet. It's pretty interesting. 3,600 email addresses, 7,200 account passwords, 8,500 private keys for domains. And look at all this Gmail and Yahoo. So you're telling me that you want to be a hacker, huh? And you're using Facebook as your...
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you might not want to do that. Gmail and Facebook reads your email, sir. So, or ma'am, or whomever. You might want to be careful about that. This is the second time that they were hacked.
Rough.
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah. Anonymous hacker collective took down Freedom Hosting 2 after they discovered that the hosting provider was sheltering child abuse portals. One thing you don't fuck around about is kids. And another thing you don't fuck around about is anonymous. So like whenever you find kids and anonymous on the internet at the same time, it's a pretty big deal. We're talking about 10,000 onion sites going down. So that's twice the size of this current breach that we're talking about right now. Wow. It's pretty crazy. Anyway, we're in a time right now where, like we said, there's no honor amongst thieves.
No.
If you learn nothing from us, just know that the ransomware gangs will leak your data and they'll hack each other if needed.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm following up. Oh, someone asking about the DNS stuff. Sam, watch my video. You'll have maybe slightly different impressions of some of the filtering levels. DNS filters seem really good though. So.
Holy smokes! Thank you guys for chatting. I got so much scrolling to do. I'm catching up on the chat here, having good conversations. We will be allowing you to subscribe for podcasts for free for sure, Sam Sheridan. Just throwing that out there. I like Discord, but yeah, Mumble. I want to give Mumble a go. I want to see what Mumble is all about.
Mumble's, from just doing the voice, we really like it. We've been using it here at the office for a while because even prior to that, we were using it for games. Well, I should say Steve was. Steve always has had a Mumble server, and so you just stand one up. You set up a key to the person who wants to manage it. It's actually pretty straightforward. It's cross-compatible, Linux and Windows. I'm not positive. I think they have an app for the phone. We never use it.
Xavier just applied the Barry White filter. No, I just haven't talked all day long, and my throat just went immediately dry. I gotta get on my lemon water.
Yep, I got my lemon water here. Well, it's funny. I'm a little talked out because I've had so many conversations with people today. Your voice is always deeper after X amount of hours that you haven't used it. And as you use it, it fatigues and you get a more hoarse sound. So videos I record in the morning are different than the ones I record in the afternoon, depending on whether or not I've actually spent a lot of the day talking. Some days I'm here all day. If I'm not making videos, I sit in front of a computer and I don't have conversations verbally. So
nice. That makes sense. Let's see. Best two-factor authentication? Two-factor authentication? Duo?
Yeah.
I like Duo.
Duo from an application standpoint, my favorite is TOTP. Just that.
Yeah, that's the only.
Because it doesn't require. Yeah. But for end users, like for what we've deployed to some like accounting people, because they need a green or red button to make things simple, Duo is really good.
Yep. And I mean, LastPass, if you're using LastPass, then it has Authenticator built right in.
Yep.
Again, with that push notification, green, red button. I haven't gotten Duo to push me a notification one time with the green or red. I just always have to go there and get my TOTP token. But, yeah. Script Kitty Cam says, yeah, I remember hacking in the 90s, early 2000s was different than hacking in the late 2000s. But let's be real. LulzSec, bunch of script kiddies created a lot of damage. There's still people right now that are in jail because of that. So yeah, script kiddies can get into real trouble.
Oh yeah. Matter of fact, they're probably more susceptible to the trouble because they're playing with things they don't understand. There was a few stories. I'm trying to remember what book I read. There were some pretty solid stories in there of people that got jail time for just using the low Earth ion cannon thing.
Yeah,
they didn't try to hide their IP. They just downloaded and started using it because they seen someone tweet about it and Anonymous talked about it, and they got themselves in trouble over it. So,
let's see. Gmail literally tell you they read your email while sorting them for you. Right, Kane? Like you might as well. Like I got a Gmail because I signed up for a Gmail when I was in high school. Not because I was like some like hack the planet security conscious dude. I was just like email. Where do I get an email from, teacher? Gmail.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I never look at email because it was never designed to be. Everything about security in email was bolted on afterwards. So it's not secure by design. So it's not anything I ever think of as a secure piece of communication. So I'm never really worried about it. Like, we don't send passwords to it. We don't send credit card. Well, we don't send. We had a customer just mail us when we told them, you know, we have recurring payments. They just took a picture of their credit card and emailed it to us. We're like,
Yeah.
well, that's interesting.
Don't do that. Unless
some
it's
people
like
don't think about it.
Maybe if it's a privacy.com card, and no, this video is not brought to you by privacy.com, but I know privacy.com very well. And you can just generate a virtual card, hand it off, lock it to a merchant, and be like, the first merchant that uses this is the only merchant that can use it. And it'll just decline everything. And you can go, you know what? Tom will never bill me more than $20 a month for hosting. So we're just going to max this out at $21. And if he hits me up and says, hey, your card declined, I know it was because it was more than $20. And I can go, what happened to $20 a month? Love privacy, man. And also, it works just like LastPass. If you're browsing the net and you find something you want to buy, you click a button and it'll automatically populate all those fields for you, generating a new card. Amazing. That's one way to keep yourself. Sam says, using Gmail since high school, so like 4 years or so. Oh yeah, I mean, kinda, I guess. I got out of high school 10 years ago now. Probably 10 years to the day. So
oh yeah.
And I was a year back. I was held back a grade. I wasn't very good at school. I was extremely well socially, not very good at school. So
yeah, you know, that's a common thing, because I was always terrible at school. My favorite thing a teacher ever called me, because I'm oddly motivated by negative influence, was when she screamed, "You're nothing but an unteachable delinquent." I'm like, I just like that, like unteachable delinquent. It's like my
that
hashtag.
Would have been the name of my company.
Yeah, unteachable delinquent
to technology services. He would be like, oh, okay, we're Flex. Sounds like a metal band from the 90s.
Yeah, the of course I got out of high school in '94. More like on a plea deal. I didn't do real good in school either. They were happy that I went. They're like, you got to take a few extra summer classes, and so you don't have to come back here another year, because we're cool if you don't come back another year.
I was lucky enough to go to a school with an engineering academy that helped me be able to actually pass high school. Otherwise, it would have been terrible for me. Like half of my day for 2 years was all engineering. I'm talking
that's awesome.
Ohm's law and soldering and building cars, and we actually restored a 1968 MG midget. That's how I learned how to drive manual. I just was into so much stuff. I did innovative vehicle design, IVD, first robotics for Inspiration of Science and Technology, Team 94. I was the president of my engineering academy 2 times in a row. I think I was the only kid ever to do that, become president in junior year and senior year.
I think it's still taking a long time to get there, and I've heard some places do it better than others. This is varied, not just in the U.S. but globally, where they recognize some of the kids. They're going, "You're having trouble, but you're very talented. Let's figure out a way to take that energy before you do something stupid and regrettable and felony-like, and direct them towards something a lot better." So it's. Someone says, make a new channel slogan. Unteachable delinquent.
Unteachable delinquent.
I'll change my Twitter to be that.
Teaching delinquents.
Yeah. Unteachable delinquent that now has a YouTube channel that teaches people. So
there you go. Yeah. All right. Well, shit. We hung out. I know you're probably tired.
Yep. I'm going to go do something outside.
We do an hour and a half this time, hour 20. Woohoo. You're getting longer.
Yeah. We did good. I actually have to do like physical manual labor. We the contractors there grading out my yard and finishing my backyard.
That's what I
finally
needed to hear. There you go. You shouldn't put any grass. You should just throw green or white clover. White clover. That's
white clover.
That just in case, you know what I'm saying? You're just like, actually, maybe if I get a 4-leaf clover out there, the shit won't happen.
Yeah.
Again, you know?
I see my wife message. She goes, "It came to like $200 for the grass seed. Go put it out." And I'm like, oh, joy. It's a big lot. So
yeah. Holy shit, though, man. Fuck. I'm sorry.
Yep. So I got
AstroTurf, Adam says.
AstroTurf.
Mobo.
Oh,
Dude,
someone said, "Is your car
kids
charged
coming
yet?"
in with the burn on their arm from sliding on the turf?
Yep. Actually, I'll drag something over because this is for those that don't know, because this is always on my channel. Here you can. This is actually how I see this. My car is plugged in behind my office. That's where it charges. So I got the notice a while ago. My car was all charged. So
nice.
Yeah, you can
Next
see.
thing you know, you'll see another guy that's just like backed up to your car. Like, yeah, Tom's fully charged. Don't worry, I'll just plug mine in too.
Yeah, it lets me know who's plugged in. It's got little notices it sends.
Oh, it's very nice. You should put a payload on there. It just allows you to transfer ownership of their Tesla to your key now. That's the next class of bugs. And it's like, oh no, this is a security thing, man. I just don't want any and everybody using my
I did meet a local Tesla owner. I was out and about, and it was interesting because he's been diving into exactly how the streams go back and forth, trying to reverse engineer them. He said it's the Bluetooth connects 6 times back and forth to the Tesla, and he was reversing the streams on it to try to kind of get in the middle of security. He says it's a lot more He said it was a lot more complicated than he expected. So, which so far, they're not, to my knowledge, no one has been able to hack the way the Model 3 uses Bluetooth and phone authentication. I've not seen any hacks on it. I'm positive, because there's a bug bounty on it, that people have tried. So,
fun times.
Fun times. More exploring later on that particular piece of security. So
for sure.
All right. Well, we're gonna sign off here. I'm gonna go get to it, and peace out, man. See you guys. We should be able to do this next week. We'll try to be a little bit more proactive in announcing a time.
Well, I'm pretty good for next week.
Yep. And feel free, like I said, tweet me some suggestions, or Xavier, reach out to us wherever you want to talk about if you know a good podcasting utility that just is a automatic convert. We need automation because we want to spend time researching, not creating like repetitive work. Automation tools. All right. Peace.
Peace.
Later.